All right, everybody, it's time for the last lesson of the year, two-way frequency tables. So we're going to wrap up our stats talk with two-way frequency tables. And those are one way to organize and determine relationships between information from two categories. The rows are going to represent one category and the columns are going to represent another. So in this first example, we have a two-way table that's already filled out for us. Students at a school were asked what their favorite elective was. This table shows the results. So let's answer these questions and interpret what's going on in here. How many students were surveyed in total? Well, there we're going to look for our total, 93 students. What is the percent of males that were surveyed? So when it's asking for a percentage, remember, a percent is out of a total. Well, we know the total is 93, so we need to find how many males there were. There were 45 males out of 93. So there's males out of the total. 45 divided by 93. That is about 0.48 if I round it to the nearest hundredth. And when it's asking for percent, remember, all you have to do to make a percentage is move the decimal 2 places to the right. So this is going to be 48% were males. How many males chose art? So this isn't asking for a percentage. This is saying how many males chose art. That's 18. What is the percent of males that chose art? So for this one, we are looking only at the males. What is the percent of males? So the total for males is 45. Given that they're a male, what is the percent that they chose art? Well, 18 out of those 45 chose art. So that is about 0.4. And so that as a percentage, 40%. So 40% of the males chose art. Next question is saying, what is the percentage of students? So we're talking about all students. So our total is 93 that chose music. So the total amount of people who chose music was 40. So 40 divided by 93 as a percentage, careful of your rounding, is 43%. So 43% of students chose music as their favorite elective. Next question is saying, what is the percentage of females? So females, I'm strictly looking at the female row. So my total is going to be out of 48. They chose tech. So the number of females that chose tech as their favorite elective be 6 out of 48, which after rounding represents 13%. Next question. Given that the student is a female, so once again, given the student's a female, I'm looking at the female row. So my total amount of females is 48. What is the percentage of females that chose music? So now we're looking at music, which represents 20 females out of the greater 48 amount of females. So that's 42%. Last one is saying, given that the student chose art. So now I'm just looking at the art column. So I'm looking at the 40 students that chose art. What is the percentage that they were male? Well, there were 18 out of those 40 that were males. So 18 divided by 40, make that a percent, 45%. So two-way tables is all about understanding what total am I talking about when I'm finding percentage. You're finding the probability here. Okay, so make sure you understand if I'm finding a percentage, I need to make sure that I'm identifying the correct total? Am I talking about all students, or am I focusing in on a given row or a given column? And it's all going to come from the wording of the question. Let's do another problem. Organizers at MCHS are planning facilities for a new student center. They surveyed students about what activities they would like to have, video games, board games, or table sports, and to which class they belong to, freshmen or sophomores. So, complete the table. So here we have a table that's incomplete. We are going to use our skills of adding and subtracting in order to fill out the rest of the table. So this should come quick, but to help you out, if I look at the row of video games, we knew there were 20 freshmen. We don't know how many sophomores there were, but we know there were 190 total students that chose video games. So if I take the total, 190, take away the 20 freshmen, that means 170 sophomores said video games. Now, if I look at the sophomores column, you know there are 395 total sophomores, 190 which said table sports, 170 of which said video games, which leaves 35 students to say, or 35 sophomores to say board games. If I look at the total column, there are 500 total students. Subtract the 90 and the 190 that we already know. That's going to leave 220 total students to vote for table sports. Working backwards on the table sports column, 220 total. Take away the 190 sophomores. That leaves 30 freshmen. If I look at the total row, there's 500 total students, but there's 395 sophomores, which means there's 105 freshmen. And then if I work backwards with the 105 freshmen and take away the 30 for table sports and the 20 for video games, that means that 55 wanted board games. So that's kind of how you fill out the two-way table. A lot of adding and subtracting. Okay? So, of the students who chose table sports, so I'm just looking at the people who picked table sports, how many of them are freshmen? Well, 30 of them. Right here. 30 of them were freshmen. How many students chose video games? So I'm looking at the total amount of video games. That would be 190 students. I should be putting my units. How many students are freshmen? That's just looking for the total amount of freshmen. So that's 105. What activity was the least popular? So that's just saying out of the total, what activity was the least popular? That would be board games. And then the next one is saying how many people chose video games given you're looking at sophomores. We are interested in sophomores. So we're just looking at the sophomores. How many of them chose video games? 170 sophomores did. Okay? So that is no probability there, no percentages. We were just looking at the table, answering those questions, making sure we were reading carefully. And then one more example together. And this is if we have to create a table from scratch. So you see I kind of started it here. So a survey of 50 people were conducted to see what activities people do in the park. Of the males surveyed, so that tells me that we're going to be looking at males and females. So that's one of my categories. Those are going to represent my rows. My columns are going to represent the activities. Jogging, picnic, and then kites. You see we've got jog, picnic, and kites. So those are the three different activities that I'm looking at. So those are going to make up my activities. category, and that's going to be my columns. So now we can start filling in things. Reading and filling in. A survey of 50 people. So that means my total amount of people is 50. That takes care of that number. Of the males surveyed, so if I'm just looking at males, 9 like to jog, 10 like to picnic. That takes care of those numbers. Of the females, so now we're focusing on the female row, 11 like to jog, 1 like to fly a kite. There were 5 people, so now we're talking about people. There are 5 people total that like to fly kites, so the total for kites is 5. And 25 total people that like to picnic. So first thing we need to do before we answer these questions is fill out the rest of our chart. Okay, if I add down on jog, you'll see there are 20 total people who like to jog. If I subtract 10 from 25, you'll see there are 15 females that like to picnic. If I subtract 1 from 5, you'll see there are 4 males that like to kite. And then if I add across, I will see that there were 23 total males in this survey. And there were 27 total females. So now that my chart is filled out, I can start to answer these questions. What is the percentage of females that like to picnic? Okay, so what is the percentage of females that like to picnic? So I'm going to, out of everybody, females, oops, sorry, hang on. Yes, sorry. Out of the total 50 females that like to picnic, there are 15 of them. So 15 out of 50, that's going to be 30%. What is the, if I go to C, what is the percentage of people that like to jog? So out of all the people, 50, how many like to jog? That would be 20. 20 out of 50, which would be 40%. What is the percentage of males surveyed? So there were 23 males out of the total 50, which is 46%. What is the percentage of males that like to jog? Well, there were 9 males that like to jog out of the greater 50, so that would be 18%. What is the percent of females given that they like to picnic? So this one's different. I'm not looking at everybody now. Given that they like to picnic, I'm looking just at my picnic column. Just out of the people that like to picnic, so just those 25 people, what is the percent of females? So there are 15 females out of the 25 that like to picnic. So that would be 60%. Part G, what is the percent of people that like to jog given that they're female? So now I'm just looking at the female row. I'm telling you we're looking at females. So my total has changed to 27. How many of them like to jog? 11 out of that 27 like to jog. And so that is going to, after rounding, go to 41%. Next is asking, what is the percentage of females that like to picnic? So this one's back to my total of everybody, total of 50. What females that like to picnic? That's 15 out of 50, which is 30%. And then our last question is saying, what is the percentage of those that like to fly kites? So there are 5 total people that like to fly kites out of the greater 50, which is going to be 10%. Okay? So keywords that you need to look for: given, okay? if you read a sentence and it's assuming something, or it's telling you to narrow your look, like if I scroll up here, given that the student is a female, given that the student chose art, okay? One thing I made a mistake on was this one right here. This wasn't telling me that we were just looking at females. This is saying, what is the percentage of females that chose tech as their favorite? That's talking about everybody. And the females that chose tech, which is 6. So 6 divided by 93, that's just going to be 6%. So that is one that I made a mistake on because there wasn't an assumption being made there. Okay? It was saying out of everybody, what's the percent that you have a female that chose tech as their favorite elective? Okay? But you really need to look for this given word. Given means that you're narrowing your view onto a row or a column. Okay? So there is a you try now, which I'm just going to leave here. That's another worked out example for you. Okay? You see down here, this question says, of the sick or injured visits. You see how that starts it? So that's going to be like, given we're looking at sick or injured visits, what percent were for cats? Okay? So that's two-way tables. Plenty of practice problems are available for you on your worksheet. So make sure you practice these. These like to pop up on the SAT. So you want to make sure you understand how to fill out the chart and analyze it and answer the questions that are given to you below. So email me if you have any questions. Way to make it through this year of Algebra 1. It has been a pleasure teaching you. I wish you nothing but the best in your future courses. Have a great summer after getting all your work done. If you need me, reach out. I'm here for you guys. I'm sorry that this is how we had to end the semester, but we're making the best of a bad situation. So as always, be good, do good, stay well. I'll see you when I see you.